Ladies and gentlemen, podcast from the pod 4100 Mecklenburg County Detention Center, because we don't say jail. We say the detention center, and we don't say inmates, we say residents. Of course, we had a long hiatus, and we've been going for a minute, but we are back. We are back because we're going to rebrand what we do for the podcast from the pods. But today is going to be a little bit personal. So we're going to talk to you about something and someone near and dear to my heart. I will not mention this young man's name, but I am sitting in a pod cell in 4100. Yes, I'm just sitting inside of the cell. We're going to talk about a friend, and I can't call his name yet because he died a few days ago, and we have not found his family yet. And somebody said, why can't you find his family? Well, when you have been removed from your family for many years, we don't know who your family is, and maybe you didn't care about your family, know where you are. But for me, he's part of my family, and we're going to talk about this. I hope I don't get emotional about it, but we're going to talk about this. And the reason that we're going to talk about it is because we often talk about deaths inside detention centers and death inside of jails, and everybody covers it when a person dies inside of a jail. But we don't cover it when it dies inside a hospital, and we don't cover it that much when it dies at a retirement home or rest home if there's not foul play. And so even though 95% or maybe almost 100% of our deaths here are not by the hands of our staff. Now, although they say that we didn't do a check, or we didn't do this, or we didn't do a round, and then they constitute that as neglect to what they call gig us when we're talking about deaths inside the detention center. But at the initial hands of our staff, where somebody's beating, somebody's choking, somebody's fighting somebody, that doesn't happen here. So a couple of days ago, we had a young man who, at the age of 62, was discovered inside of his cell. So this is kind of the cell that one of the cells, if you can't see it, if you're just listening, I'm inside of that same type of cell where there's a toilet and there's a sink and there's a bed and there's a little stool that you sit on as a desk. So if you want to read and write, this is where you sit. So my friend was found there, and let me tell you this, before that, I did not know who he was. So they investigated the death, and they came in and did all of the necessary things to do, and then we called in the SBI, and the SBI came in and they did their thing, and I asked everybody, can we find his family? And they said, well, he has a limited family, but they do have one person that they could call. So they didn't call that person at that time. So after investigation was completed and the State Bureau of Investigation left, I left with my wife also. Little as I know, I got a phone call about an hour and a half later, and one of my community engagement officers indicated to me that the person inside the detention center who died Sunday is a very well-known person to my community engagement unit. And when they called me, they said, Sheriff, I hate to tell you this, but the person that has been ID'd by us inside a detention center that we cannot find his family is one of your friends. And I said, well, how is he my friend? He said, remember when we used to come to the block or the wall? We have where all the homeless people sit. They call it the wall, or they call it the block. And every other Tuesday, the Mecklenburg County Sheriff deputies, community engagement unit, along with the deputies that are getting off work that time of day, are authorized by me to assist with feeding our unhoused residents, commonly referred to as homeless people. And so one of the things that we love to do is be involved with our community. An initiative was to take care of the unhoused/homeless people on what they consider the wall, because it is a wall, and we name it the wall, but it's called the block also. And so during that time, every 2 weeks, Chick-fil-A would graciously give us chicken sandwiches, and we take them to the wall, and we prepared, an afternoon meal with chicken sandwiches and any other thing that we have. And so during that time, I became friends with one of the gentlemen out here, mainly because he was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Yes, he was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And believe it or not, one of my friends sent me a picture of me and him standing on the block with his Pittsburgh Steelers sweater cap, knit cap, whatever we want to call it, and his Pittsburgh Steelers jacket. Someone said, did you buy that jacket and hat for them? My answer would be, I'm not even going to tell you. That's all I'm not going to tell you. Anyway, so when they told me who he was, I emotionally was upset, and I went to the very one person that I knew who knew him, and that was a lady named Deborah. And how I knew he knew Deborah is because last year, the organization that Deborah is the president of is called Block, B-L-O-C-K, Block Love. That means love for the block, who goes out every day, takes care of our unhoused individual citizens on the street each and every day. And so now she has a building, and now she has a center, which probably won't be open long because the powers to be is not funding this facility very well. Yes, I said it. Garry McFadden, sheriff with 2 R's, McFadden, said that the county and the city is not providing her the necessary funds to take care of our unsheltered, unhoused individuals that we classify as citizens on our street. So when I got there, of course, I didn't know what to do, and I talked to some other people who knew Miss Deborah, and I said, look, I got bad news. And one person said, it is going to break her heart. And I said, I know, and it's going to break her heart. So I came up with the idea, hey, Deborah, I need to use the bathroom, just riding by. And she opened the other side of the building, which I knew the bathroom was away from everybody else. And we sat there and talked for a minute, and then she looked at me, and she said, Sheriff, you got something else to talk about, because something else is going on. And I said, yes, Deborah, we had a young man who passed away inside the Mecklenburg County Detention Center today. And I told her who it was. We both were in shock. We didn't say anything much after that. And I said, you know, what are we going to do? And she said, well, we'll have a memorial and we'll move forward. And I said, okay, let me know what we're going to do. And I left. Deborah said, call me later. And I called her about 4 or 5 hours later. And she said, Sheriff, when you told me, I went to my office, I cried, and it was like I had an out-of-body experience. Well, I said, well, Deborah, you know, I went home and just crashed myself. And the only reason I'm calling you now because I told you I'll call you later. But the main significance of this whole conversation is about our unhoused individuals who we do not recognize often very well. And here's why. Because of my friend's death, and I'm going to still say my friend's death, it is classified that he died in the custody of the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office, which he did. Usually when a death happens in the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office or at any sheriff's office or in any jail, any detention center, it is big news, and the media, social media, rides it for days. Another death inside the jail. What is going on? Nobody really know what is going on because nobody really asks us. Now, sure, I know his struggles. Sure, I know his health. Sure, I know the incident that he's been in. He's absolutely been stabbed one time. And so I know that because we talked about it, and I've seen the scars and everything else. So when we're talking about unhoused individuals, how much do we really care about them? Because the only reason that the local media, social media, and the critics may still be talking about my friend is because he died inside the Mecklenburg County Detention Center. Now, this may sound bad. For my friend to pass away, die, inside the Mecklenburg County Detention Center was good. Because when he arrived, he told Ms. Deborah, you know, I'm down here with the sheriff. Because oftentimes, no, every time he would greet me as, that's my sheriff. My sheriff, see you later. Because you're my sheriff, that's my sheriff. He introduces me to anybody on the block as, that's my sheriff. And so when we talk about these individuals, we have to understand they are loved, admired, and supported, and produce support to others who are all on the streets themselves. And so it bothers me for the local media and the media and anybody else capitalize on his death or anybody's death who dies inside the Mecklenburg County Detention Center for any reason. But for a reason of a person who is going through homelessness, poverty, substance abuse, and maybe some mental issues, being here in the Mecklenburg County Detention Center, and I keep saying that, Mecklenburg County Detention Center, because I want y'all to get used to not saying jail. For my friend to pass away here It is good for me to know that he was cared for, he was sheltered, he was fed, he got his medication, and he had a roof over his head, and he died with the care and love under my custody. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but for me, it is good, because I can tell you this. If he had died in an abandoned house, if he had died in an alley, if he had died in an encampment or beside a building, there would be very little to no news story about him. Well, Sheriff, how can you say that? Because for 21 years as a homicide detective at Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department, I cannot remember one person who was unhoused/homeless that we found in an encampment, or we found in an abandoned house, or anything that made the headlines. When the news came because of the death, it was individual found in a house, period. That news article would not be more than 1 or 2 sentences, but never a full-page, blown-out investigation on why was this person homeless, why was this person unfed, why was this person didn't have a house, why was this person drug addiction, mental addiction, was not cared for. None of that would be the question. It would simply be unknown person found in abandoned house. The case is ruled maybe a natural or no foul play. So the day that it happened, the local news says there are no signs of foul play. You would never hear anything about that person again. So it is good that this individual, my friend, passed away at the Mecklenburg County Detention Center. Now, the reason that this is so heartfelt for me is because I've lost about 5 or 6 friends in the last couple of 2 weeks. 2 were very prominent in Charlotte. Attorney Ferguson, absolutely civil rights pioneer, unbelievable, unbelievable. Loved him to death. Good friend, loved him to death. Retired Chief Vicky Foster, absolutely beautiful soul in and out. Both funerals, packed house. People from around the state, people from around the country came to honor these 2 people, which they should. Let me say that again, which they should. They deserve it. They were pioneers. They were pioneers in this field. Attorney Ferguson, civil rights master, giant. Vicky Foster, better known as Vicky to everyone, unbelievable soul, unbelievable, beautiful person, loved the world, loved all of her friends, including me. But we have to understand that my friend who died on the streets, my friend who had died inside a detention center, or these individuals who die on the street are also leaders, are also people that people loved, admired, worked with, cried with, ate with, struggled with. They're also people. And so I was telling someone today that losing Attorney Ferguson hurt me. Losing Vicky hurt me. Losing this friend hurt me. The hurt was no difference because of Vicky's status or Attorney Ferguson's status, because my friend had a status too. Now, here's the ironic thing. Today, before I talked about this, one of the friends sent me their last photo of us, me and my friend on the block, serving those who didn't have shelter, serving those who didn't have a meal, serving those who needed clothes, and we are actually feeding them at that particular time. And if you see the smile on his face, which we will probably produce at some time, it made me feel good, because I know that my friend, just like Vicky and just like Attorney Ferguson, has gone on to heaven. And I know some people may say, well, you don't know that. Well, I feel that in my heart, and I know that in my heart, because I know all 3 of those individuals. But what services was there for my friend? Very little. Did anybody understand what he was going through on the streets? Very few people. What do we do about that? Is there a warm handoff? Is there something else we can do for them? But we have to understand, if this person had died in an abandoned house or someplace else, none of us would know about it. I would want to still know about it, and I'm sure somebody would call me about it, but I still want his death to be honored. I know that sounds crazy because most of you are saying, well, he just was a person on the streets. Yeah, but he was someone's son, and he was somebody's friend, and he was my friend. So we have to look at these individuals differently and not just throw them to the side and say, well, they're homeless and they're going through something and they're drugged. No, there are somebody's friends. Because that picture that I have of him will be duplicated, will be part of my pictures on my desk or on my wall somewhere else, where I can look at it every day to remind me that I still need to help and feed the unhoused. I still need to help and feed / the homeless. I still need to go to the block. I still need to go to the wall. I still need to support Deborah and block love. Why? Because she's supporting these people that we often kick to the curb. But I'll tell you, this is not the last time we're going to talk about it, and this is not the last time, I'm going to make sure that you listen to what we are talking about when it becomes unhoused and homeless people. But I don't want you to all forget this. They are someone's loved one too. He will not get the big fanfare funeral. He will not get all the accolades that he probably deserved because he's probably really helped someone. He probably really brought somebody out from a dark place. He probably had a conversation with someone that meant something. And the reason I'm saying that is because I look for my friend to say, there go my sheriff, riding down the street, yelling at me, hey, sheriff. Well, who's that? That's my sheriff. Or when I went on the block, we're going to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to talk about all the stuff that's going on in Charlotte. And Sheriff, how you doing? And we know that the block would be cleaned up after every meal because of my friend. Why? Because he took pride in just that part of his life. So imagine taking pride of taking care of a city block with all the other people that we deem homeless or unhoused. He cared for the block, and that's why he received an award. But imagine this: a sheriff and an unhoused person was honored the same night and received an award from the same organization, Block Love, who is Miss Deborah. So imagine my friend got to see us together and laugh and smile, knowing that we both worked the block and we receive an award together. That is something that I always remember. He was be always remembered, but we have to understand this. We need to do more for our unhoused and our homeless individuals in Charlotte. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have today. I can go on and on and on, but I'm not going to bore you all about any more of this. So we want you to always remember and do not forget to follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I said this and we'll repeat it over and over again. And remember this: if you don't have a plan, they definitely got a plan for you. Thank you. We're out.